Anna got sick. I just couldn't understand it. Why was this loving little girl going through this?
I think your daughter is lactose intolerant.
Acid reflux.
Everything looks okay.
Everything's fine.
Everything is not fine. There's something wrong with our little girl.
Mrs. B, you need to calm down.
I'm not leaving this hospital until I know what's wrong with my daughter.
Unfortunately, the tests confirm that she's very ill. There is currently no cure for Anna's condition.
Doctor, please. This is our little girl. I'm scared, Mom. Me too. We're not giving up.
Like a small boat.
Good morning and welcome to News Check on this 20th day of January 2021. Of course, it's a very busy day and I'll be telling you why. And today on News Check, we'll be looking at the state of politics in the country and the role of religious institutions when it comes to creating harmony, and especially now that the political drumbeats are slowly picking pace. But we will be getting right to that a little bit later. But for now, we will be headed to Kariobangi, where CS Magoha is meeting education stakeholders. But before then, I have in studio Bishop David Munyiri Dagana, who is the founder of Glory Outreach Assembly. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Indeed, I've just talked about today being a very instrumental day, looking at the biggest democracy in the world, that is the United States of America. Yeah. Today, they are going to be inaugurating their 46th president, that is Joe Biden, together with his Vice President Kamala Harris. Okay, much later today. And we've seen a lot of things happening in the run-up since the elections, and also the results announcement and the preparations for this inauguration. Of course, the United States, the Capitol Hill, is really under very tight security, and it will be one of a kind swearing in. Remember, the COVID pandemic is still with us, with the United States leading in the number of reported cases. And I'm informed that CS Magoha is currently addressing the press and stakeholders in the education sector at the Fatima Girls High School in Kariobangi. Let's listen in.
The next classroom is not utilized. It's being used for parking. I hope they remember that that's a good resource in between the trees there. The government applauds parents and well-wishers, and I want to particularly thank the Giants Group, which has supplied many thermogans to secondary schools, and also to continue thanking the KCB Foundation, UNICEF and CARE, who have partnered with us as far as mask and water is concerned, and also not to forget our own Ministry of Water, with which we have been moving together with the county governments. From our assessment, all learning institutions are using thermogans, and that even today I saw somebody following me at full throttle speed to come and take my own in this school. And when I got where I was going, there was still another one, and I saw another one left at the gate. So.
Apologies for that technical hitch, but CS Magoha at the Fatima Girls High School in Kariobangi meeting education stakeholders, checking on the status of education. It's barely a month since the full reopening of schools was announced, and schools, of course, we are told that over 90% of students have been able to resume studies. Of course, he is also checking the compliance of Ministry of Health guidelines in regards to COVID-19 protocols. And just before that technical hitch, was talking about all schools using the thermoguns, and of course, following the Ministry of Health and Education set guidelines when it comes to education matters in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic. Of course, we'll be getting back to that, and if we are not able to do that, of course, we'll be bringing you a much comprehensive report in our subsequent bulletin. If in case you're joining us, this is News Check. My name is Bentro Njoe, and we are actually with my colleague, who is Simon Maura, handling the sign language interpretation, and also I'm joined by Bishop David Thagana, who is the founder of Glory Outreach Assembly. And today we are discussing the state of politics in the country, but we will be focusing a lot on the role of religious institutions in creating harmony, and especially now that we have a lot of political temperatures rising in the country. But before then, let's get back to Fatima Girls High School, where CS Magoha is addressing the press.
And I believe that our trailers are now on the road with the food. It has delayed because we had to follow procurement procedures, and including inspecting, so that you don't pack food which is rotten to go and be eaten with our children. So we have inspected 100%, the way we have said, and I think food should be in schools from this week onwards. And of course, as His Excellency the President had ordered, the issue of fortified porridge for our children in the slums and in the poor areas. Fortified porridge, the fortified porridge has soya, and it has elements and vitamins. It's 10 times better than maize and beans or rice and beans. So the young children in grades 1 to 3 are going to start having their mug of fortified porridge, which should be able to help their brain grow properly, because the brain only grows for a certain period, after which is only the body that grows. The brain has already stopped growing. And if you don't give it the correct nutrition to grow, then the body will be there, but you will not be thinking very much, isn't it? Finally, ladies and gentlemen, I want to just re-emphasize one thing. The government prioritized education as an important aspect of what it is doing. And as a result, money was released to schools, 4.6 billion to primary and 14.9 billion to secondary school. Because of that, we are implementing His Excellency's directive that no child shall be sent home for school fees. Let us not take this for granted. Mwalimu, no child shall be sent home for school fees. Yes. You can manage with the parents. You are healthy. You have legs and transport. Yes. You can visit the home and confirm that this one, they can pay so much. Rather than sending the child home, you go to the home to check which home you are sending the child to. If you are sending the child back to Korogocho, do you think the gates of heaven will be open for you? They will not be open for you. And then we have also said that soon, the next tranche of money, this was 50% Belio, isn't it? 25%, adding another 25%. This was 25%. The government, the good government of His Excellency Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta will make another 25% available as soon as the conditions allow. And you don't want me to explain that to you, because we are all learned, we all went to school. And we know that once that money is collected as tax, what the president will say that we should give more money to them. So you spend the one you have first. Stop all this noise we are hearing, ladies and gentlemen. Otherwise, I want to thank every stakeholder by saying, starting with God, who is the most important stakeholder, He has given us His grace and blessing and love, that we are now going into the third week of the opening, and there is no upsurge of corona. Mm-hmm. Instead, it is going down. Yes. So the naysayers should give us a break, isn't it? Yeah. So let us just walk together as one nation. And also, I'm urging the public workers in this country, like my most humble self, to close their ears from the toxic politics. We are not part of that politics. We implement government policy, and for us, we are likely to be implementing to the young children who are still like angels and have not been corrupted. I want to thank the Fourth Estate also, because since we engaged, I've seen very positive activities. Even if I'm cartooned, it is a cartoon which has a meaning, which is reasonable and which is not. So I want to leave it there unless somebody has a very important question related to what we are doing here. I'll take 2 questions only. Yes?
Thank you, Waziri. So one of my questions is the International Education Day. We are set to celebrate it in 4 days' time. So I was asking, we have seen efforts as the ministry to ensure every child accesses education. Maybe in general, you let us know for the special needs person on the other end. And then my other question.
No. Respect yourself.
Yeah, I do. The last one.
I will not take it. I said I'll take 2 questions, and you are being very unfair. First of all, you ask a question which is not too relevant, and then you are, yes?
My name is Brian Otieno from
I know
KT
you were,
News.
yes.
So my question is, what is the government doing about the brutality we've been seeing teachers facing at the hands of children?
Okay, let me start with that one, because that one is more pertinent to our people. I'm a grandfather, and I heard somebody mentioning tough love here today.
Yes, the principal.
The principal mentioned tough love here today. That is what our parents don't give. They don't give even 1% of tough love. What they give is what I would call stupid love. Because my father prepared me to be able to live and become a CS and get all the pressure and the arrows from you, and I don't collapse. But what is happening is that our parents are not listening. It is a very serious societal problem. Okay, I'm answering it because we are government, and the government should take care of everything. But I think it goes back to you. You are too young, maybe you are not married. But if you are, the problem comes back to your house. How are you treating your children? Because now that the schools were open, every car is on the road. Everybody is putting a child in a car taking to school. I had many cars, and you can interview my son if you want. My wife also had many because we love cars. Guess what? My son went to school by bus. He went to school by bus, by school bus. That is what the Kenyans must do in order for this to stop. Because if for 9 months the child has gone home and you are treating him like an egg, and then you expect the principal to instill discipline, what do you think is going to happen? So let us hope that the teachers take care of themselves, and I think the people who are going to go the way the children have gone should be severely punished, irrespective of their age. Because you can't, you are in Form 1. You really are nothing. Why do you want to beat your teacher? So it is a reflection of our society, and it's a very serious issue. Are we together here? Yes. So you are part of the answer. It's not just government. And can you spread it through your network? Now, the special needs children are very special to us as a government. In fact, if you are to ask His Excellency the President, he always asks during exams, are you sure you have added them 45 minutes for a paper that a normal person takes for, if a normal person is taking 1 hour, the special needs person requires 1 hour 45 minutes. In terms of infrastructure, Dr. Kipsang, we have a special fund for them that goes directly to them. I can't say that we are doing enough, but compared to the normal child, the government is spending much more on the special child than the normal child. Those challenges will continue to be there because some of them are extremely difficult. You remember, if you are blind, you require Braille, different types of Braille. It's also important to note that as far as the return to school is concerned, perhaps we are still looking at for a few of the special children. We shall trace them and bring them back to school. But I also then noticed one thing on the streets, which may or may not be relevant. You find people who are using these special kids for trading. It's like they are dropped very early in the morning, and they are taken later in the evening. Now, if this is going to affect their schooling, Ngao is here, and Ngao has the police and the CID people. We are going to continue. Are we together? We are going to continue to ensure that our special kids get what is required of them. We start with Kenya first. Right now, Kenya's problem is different from any other country. Once we are ready, the world is a global village. Because even the so-called mighty Rwanda has closed schools. Have we? No. We have not, because we are looking at our own local issues. Since I'm very good today, can I get a third question from somebody else? From somebody else, unless you are very satisfied with me, then I can go.
Yeah.
That is Education CS Professor George Magoha responding to some of the questions raised by a section of media during his inspection tour at Kariobangi, and to be more specific, at the Fatima Girls High School. And some of the things that he has talked about, there is the issue of students or pupils roughing up or even beating up teachers and other education stakeholders. And the bishop, of course, we cannot separate the religious institution or the church from the schools. We even have a lot of schools sponsored by the church. And CS Magoha there has put the blame squarely on parents when it comes to good behavior.
Yes, we cannot separate religious institutions with education, because education is actually the most sustainable way of any nation for development. Because if we do not invest in education and safeguard, then we may not have a sustainable development, because these are the same people that we are bringing up. Now, the issues that have been raised there are quite pertinent issues, where the students are attacking or assaulting the teachers. But I think it is bigger than that. The problem is much bigger than that.
Yes.
Because we also have teachers assaulting the students.
Indeed.
So we are actually having a culture of violence. And this culture of violence is not limited to the schools.
Yes.
Because it is the same that we have seen in the families.
Yes.
And looking at it clearly, it's quite an aftermath of the difficult COVID situations that people have passed through. People responding to people who have been struggling with all sorts of life, from health to economics to everything. And now they are coming to a new year where demands of budgets and getting children to school, and kids who have been at home all along sitting, having their own schedule, nobody telling them when to wake up or when to sleep. So coming to the rules, to an environment of rules, where they are told guidelines how to operate, and even the teachers the same. They stayed free. Now, to try and install order, back to order, those conflicts that we are seeing there are likely to be there, only that they are too exaggerated, because we find them armed with knives and crude weapons. Because if it is just a physical confrontation between a student and a teacher,
yes,
that we can understand and probably be a bit patient as people catch up with the new life after all the COVID stuff and staying home. But I think at this point now, besides the parents, as he has thrown the ball to the parents, that parents have got their part.
Yes.
And definitely, every parent needs to begin parenting from home. That means different people. To the CS, he has talked about his children going to school by bus when they have the opportunity to be driven. That means kind of reducing some kind of privileges for them, so that they can begin probably to fit within the same society with the other people. But to another parent, it may also mean something different, because some parents think that culture of violence is learned in the bus, in the school bus. So driving their children to school if they can, that is fine. But as religious leaders, we feel we have a great responsibility, great responsibility when it comes to peace, light from home, schools and all that. So I agree that we need to do much more than we have done in terms of bringing up teaching and speaking these things even from our own religious environment, where we deal with the character and all other things. Yes, but I was expecting that on educational matters, I was a little expecting to hear what probably the Ministry of Education is going to do to respond to the inequitable distribution, particularly of this exam that is going on this week, where we have seen some children from schools, they have no printer. They cannot be able, they receive the exam from the ministry, the teachers they are trying to read it, and they have no printer, they have nothing, and then they are expected to perform in the same manner with a big school, whereby the school receives that exam, prints everything for everybody, and gives every child their copy. I expected him to say something about that, because that is disturbing, because we definitely want to provide equitable education for all the children.
Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed. And perhaps to link that with the new problem that we have in the country, and more specifically this year. This month is just 20 days. This year is just 20 days old, yet we've experienced more than 10 cases of femicides, where we are witnessing very young people actually taking lives of their own loved ones. Perhaps can the church actually, or the religious institutions, that is talking about temples, mosques, synagogues, or even churches, do to actually help out?
Yes, and actually that is a cardinal role for the church to ensure that the people of the nation are growing with the right moral fabric, where the ethical behavior it demonstrates that they know what is right and what should be done and what should be avoided. Now that role of the church is still ongoing. And the church will never and has never abdicated its role of being that moral conscious and bringing up character, not just from the pulpit, but also from the parents who are members of the religious institutions. When the church speaks to them, and then they go home and bring up the children in a right way. But I think, and we have said this before, right in this same forum, that the family is a critical institution in the development of a nation. And it's the foundation of all cultures. It is the first school. It's actually the first place where learning should be taking place. And actually the family has more time than even the school. So it boils back to a co-parenting or co-working or partnership between the religious institutions and the family at home, that's the parenting. And of course the school comes in also. So if we are going to bring up a holistic person, a person who is a responsible citizen, who not only hate himself and want to kill himself or want to take away the life of another, I think it is a joint responsibility for all the institutions. And I think we all value, religious institutions recognize the dignity of life. So no religious institution will not take seriously when people are either taking away their life or taking other people's life. The schools definitely the same. The home the same. So but I think what we probably need to do more is that partnership, that joint effort, where we address the problem as a national problem, because indeed it is scary. It is scary. Yes.
And of course, CS Magoha has talked about the third week of education, and we have seen a drop in the number of reported coronavirus cases, which of course is a plus for the country. And he has talked about 4.6 billion has been released for primary and 14.9 billion has been released for secondary education right here in the country. And of course, he has reiterated what the president said: no student should be sent home because of lack of fees. He has, of course, warned schools, just as the president did. So no student should be sent to school. But away from that, today we are talking about the state of politics in the country. You bear me witness that the political drumbeats can be heard from afar, and of course when it comes to the BBI and also the by-elections that we have seen and others that have been lined up to take place in the coming days. And we are looking at the role of religious institutions, and as I had alluded to earlier, is that temples, mosques, synagogues, and also churches. Kindly send us your suggestion, your question, your comments, or even where you're watching us from on our various social media platforms. Remember, we are live on Facebook, we're also live on Twitter, on YouTube, and also from our KBC app. And if you don't have that app, kindly do download it so that you may get factual information even on the go when it comes to KBC programming and our very informative news. Back to our discussion. Bishop, you wear a lot of hats. You're just not the founder of Glory Outreach Ministries.
Yes, I do. First and foremost, I am the presiding bishop and the founder of Glory Outreach Assembly, which we are now celebrating 30 years this year.
Oh, congratulations.
So thank you so much. So we are actually in our 30th anniversary, starting from this month, and we're going to celebrate the entire year. Our celebrations are basically looking at the impact that Glory Outreach Assembly has had on communities in 4 areas. We're looking at the impact that we may have had in the areas of the church.
Yes.
And part of that is what we are discussing today, how we are able to respond to the issues that affects the nation. The area of taking the gospel to unleash people group, and also the area of compassion is our second area. So we are looking into that in the 30 years. We've been able to start 8 children's homes.
Okay.
And so we are looking at the lives of children who we either pick from the streets, in particular in Naivasha and other areas, who today have gone through the colleges and they are employed and they are raising their own families. And so we are also looking at the leadership development, which is a key pillar of our ministry. We are so much concerned about raising leaders who are people of integrity, because we believe that every other ministry cannot be done if we are not raising leaders. And the fourth one definitely that we are celebrating and looking back is the peace building and conflict resolution. We value peace, and we really have it as one of our four vision areas, because we believe it is difficult for any development, it's difficult to propagate even the faith or anything if people are in conflict.
Indeed.
Or if people are not living in peace. So that is they have the first heart, that is the founder and presiding bishop of 30 years old GOA. And the second heart is I am also the international director for International Leadership Institute, that representing the nations that speak English and Swahili in Africa. That's what I represent. This is primarily about equipping leaders to spread the gospel. It's about ensuring that we are raising servant leaders. We have had bosses for a long time. We are trying to build a shift that you can lead through modeling, through service, and we strongly believe that everything lies or falls with the leadership. And so the other hat that I wear is the General Secretary of the Federation of Evangelical and Indigenous Christian Churches of Kenya. So I'm the General Secretary of that forum.
Talking of leadership, America today, a couple of hours from now, they will be inaugurating their 46th American president together with his vice president. We are talking about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. The politics of the United States, and of course, a lot of people didn't expect what we've seen in the last couple of days or weeks, for that matter. What can you say about that? Looking at USA, all eyes will be on America.
First and foremost, you are right that nobody expected what we have seen through this particular process of election, particularly presidential, in the United States. And whatever has come out of that, even the event today, as people wait for it, the way they anticipate and look up to it is different from the past. And I think one lesson that we are learning is democracy is a process, and it is threatened regardless of how old the democratic institutions
yes.
may be.
Yes.
And sometimes I think we have learned from this that sometimes we also beat ourselves too hard, and we judge ourselves too harshly when it comes to our democratic processes, and we have always looked at the U.S. as a model.
Yes.
But we have learned that it is a process. It is something that grows with the people, and it has also become quite clear that whoever is the incumbent or is exiting presidency, I think that that person also matters so much, because we are talking about the 46th, but we have not had what we currently have and all those conflicts that we have had. So that contributes a great deal also to the person who is leaving. So we are looking forward to a great day for them. There's all the tension, there's all the security they have put in place, but more so, not even about the inauguration today, but the process of Joe Biden and Kamala taking up and kind of uniting the people. I look at them, and particularly in this election, and see they are either where we are or we have been, or even worse. Yes. Because for us, we learned to deal with factions during election, divisive politics. We are used to dealing with the aftermath of elections. Yes. But for them, this is going to be quite a huge test of their democracy. Even what happens after the inauguration. Yes. But we are praying for them.
Indeed. We will be all eyes on America in the next couple of hours. Yes. But still on the same, before we get into Kenyan politics, looking at the African politics that we have, a couple of months ago, I think it's around 1 or 2 months ago, we had the Tanzanian elections. Last week we had the Ugandan one. Africa, we have the highest number of presidents who have really stayed in power. Looking at Uganda, what is happening in Uganda, even observers and international community is worried about what is currently happening. We've seen even clips of boxes being stashed. What is wrong with this picture of African politics?
Well, that's a great question. I feel like Africa, once you take up a leadership position, it is until death do us part.
Yes, it's like marriage.
It is, and we really don't want to leave, which is unfortunate. Yes. And looking at Tanzania, looking at Uganda, I was in Uganda last week, and I was training leaders, 31 key leaders from all over the place, just before the elections, and you could hear. I think we Africans have also reached a point, or we are at a point whereby we have accepted that
it's the norm now.
That is the norm. That things have got to be that way, because you could hear these leaders and their key people, all of them saying, we know the results, we know how they will be, but not because they are not flawed, but we know what the outcome will be. Yes. So we somehow allow ourselves to live in that kind of situation, and that is why you find that most of our problems in Africa are not really economic, neither are they social. It's leadership. They are leadership. They are leadership. And the moment we'll be able to address the leadership issues in Africa, I think we'll be on our way to the economic and social progress and sustainability, because there will always be a reason for a leader in Africa for not wanting to leave. There will always be a reason, and that leader will always have people around him buying into whatever theory he comes up with. I heard in Uganda the theory was, the young people are not really ready to read. They can't read without us. There will always be that theory and a way of, and of course we have learned from the previous leaders from different parts of the continent that they also have a way of going around their stay in power or coming back. They have a way of going around it. It is unfortunate, but I think it also gives us a great responsibility as religious leaders to speak into these situations, and it also gives a challenge also to our future generations. Yes. To to be determined and prepared to bring change.
Indeed. Looking at Muammar Gaddafi stayed in power for years, looking at Mobutu, looking at Mugabe, the list is endless. And I don't know whether that situation is the one that is could replicate in counties here in Kenya, because I've heard of a second-time governors talking about we still have some gas left. We want to still serve our people in various positions, and some have even declared that they're going to be availing themselves to be members of parliament so that they may seek a bigger seat. But that is not even a speculation. Let's wait and see how the situation will be. But it's Mohandas Gandhi who said that those who say religion has nothing to do with politics do not know what religion is. So here in the country, we've witnessed a lot of politicians using the religious institutions to further their political agenda. Not because that is exactly what is in their heart, but because perhaps they see the church being an easy ground and a fertile ground to sell their policies. What do you have to say about that? Well,
they may have succeeded in the past, but I don't think they will succeed anymore, because the church is also enlightened. It's coming up, and I think it is becoming now too difficult for the church to just open their forums for anybody to propagate their political ideologies. But we still have to do more than that. We are, the church is sensitive about that. The church is seeing particularly how the involvement of politicians in their agenda affects or undermines the law of unity that the church stands for and tries to propagate. But and that is why in the past we as clergy, I think we have not involved ourselves much or even spoken much, because we probably do not want to be blended this or that side. But we realize you can never separate yourself from the political life. There can never be the political life and the religious life of the people and economic life. These are the same people, and they are inseparable. Because if we do not care who governs the people, then it means that we are prepared to be governed by anybody, and then we cannot therefore talk of any agenda or any vision for the nation. So the church has its role to play. They are alive to it, and they are more active and more engaged than ever before when it comes to the issues of governance and politics.
Still on the same, religious institutions have been accused of divisive politics, and especially when we get closer to general elections. It has become a norm that politicians will always speak after a Sunday service or after a mass or a religious function. They are the ones who speak last, and they are not even regulated on what they say. Could you say that that is a very, very dangerous ground?
It is a dangerous ground, and it is a good real challenges, and it's actually be pointing a finger at the church. Fair, it's fair. That's fair, because when the person people hear last is likely to be what they take home, regardless of what message had been preached by the clergy or the religious leader. And I think if you have noted, that is a trend that is changing, particularly when it comes to speaking inside the church. That has changed, particularly in the last couple of months. The religious leaders are not so generous with their pulpits like they used to be, but and they are having people speak outside. But politicians, being who they are, even if you give them outside to speak, they have their own way of communicating and lulling the people behind whatever the message is, which places a greater responsibility for us as the church leaders to probably be more hard, to probably be more aggressive in communicating our agenda and the message. But the dilemma that we find ourselves in as church leaders when it comes to that is that these are elected leaders who are representing people. And sometimes when they go to that particular church, those are the same people who voted them to go and speak for them. And it is expected that they are representing their interest. So really we find ourselves in that, that delicate balance of how do you deny this representative of the people who elected him the opportunity to speak to the same people. But I think we can manage it better by not allowing them to speak within the church, by also, because they are also our members.
Yes.
We also need to speak to them and kind of instill a bit of wisdom without necessarily telling them what to say, but maybe we can tell them what not to say.
Indeed.
Even if we are not able to tell them what to say.
Yes, but when we come back, we're going to be looking at the fundings. We've seen, let me call them generous politicians who have given a lot of money to religious institutions. Now, they use that as their political vehicle to further their cause. And also, the allure of huge gatherings look like low-hanging fruits for politicians to use their predatory instincts to try and further their causes. We will be getting back to that. Indeed, you're watching News Check. We will be right back. When we come back, we'll be discussing more on the role of religious institutions in creating a harmonious, or even preaching a harmonious environment, especially when we get closer and closer to elections. We'll be right back. Keep it Channel 1.
When Anna got sick, I just couldn't understand it. Why was this loving little girl going through this?
I think your daughter is lactose intolerant.
Acid reflux.
Everything looks okay.
Everything's fine.
Everything is not fine. There's something wrong with our little girl.
Mrs. B, you need to calm down.
I'm not leaving this hospital until I know what's wrong with my daughter.
Unfortunately, the tests confirm that she's very ill. There is currently no cure for Anna's condition.
Doctor, please, this is our little girl. I'm scared, Mom. Me too. We're not giving up.
Like a small boat.
Two lionesses struggle to cohabit.
Because I'm not going to stand here and be compared to some...
Hey, Nancy, don't try me.
As the coastal vacation brings Nancy and Joe closer.
Nancy, you are full of surprises. What would you like me to do for you this morning?
Or will it be?
Now, can you give us some space? No.
He? Ronali, ni usherati.
Watch your mouth, Mother Teresa.
Or what?
This game that you and Nancy are playing.
Na nyinyi mmekuwa akina nani kuingilia mambo ya wazazi wenu?
Stringed, making a comeback. Hotter.
Just gonna stand there and stare at us?
How do you think things will end up here?
This is a conversation between your father and I.
Sometimes it would be good if you would just stand your ground.
Wait, Mtoto, wait. What happens between me and Mama Paul is none of your business.
Bolder.
You know Mama Paul is leaving you.
So what?
What?
I'm done being a puppet and dancing to your tune and manipulation.
We called the clients and told them that your purchase was done.
Only on KBC Channel 1. Fridays at 8:30 p.m.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
And the drama begins.
Look back.
Oh, just shut up.
Tara, where have you been?
In the sky, of course, sitting on the moon. Or what do you think? Too bad you've got me, so make the best of it.
Shavu kishafua na supu ya nyama.
Hiyo ni yepi?
Kamene?
Cassandra.
Palanta guidance.
Omera, shut up.
That was my time, Farah Hersi.
Welcome back to News Check. We are looking at the state of politics in the country and more specifically the role of religious institutions when it comes to creating harmony just before we get into the 2022 succession politics and the by-elections that are currently underway. Thank you, Sabila Tom Kitikoi, watching live from Koli District, Somalia. And Eliakim Rop, you are also watching. Somebody who left a message and said, just say thank you, Bishop. So that's somebody saying hi to you and saying good work.
Thank you so much.
Before the break, we're talking about politicians and their big pockets, and also EACC and other quarters. I talked about the funding that politicians generally do give churches, huge sums of money. Of course, it's really hard when somebody is funding you to be talking ill about that person or actually trying to discredit that person, even if he's doing something that could not really be something very nice. So how do the religious institutions strike the balance between politicians and what their major role is in creating harmony in the country?
That is quite a controversial debate, and it becomes controversial because the church law is a law that includes growing people to be good stewards of the resources that God has given them. That's a part of our responsibility.
Yes.
To ensure that people grow, they don't remain where they are. And part of the growth process to stewardship includes giving. So because when they give according to the way God guides and directs, they give their tithes, they give their offerings, they give to support the poor, they give to support the vision of the church. That is part of the stewardship. Now, and therefore the church can never broke that process of someone from giving, because it would be undermining our very role of growing stewards. We do not grow stewards only from those who have, but even those who don't. And it is the responsibility of the church to have equitable relationships with the people, regardless of whether they have or they do not have. However, it is very wrong for a politician to give the money to church, expecting that he will get some favor out of it, or that it's like, it would be like a bribe actually. If the reason for giving is so that you can propagate your political ideologies, that would amount more to bribe. And
corruption actually.
Corruption actually. Yes. And it is a responsibility of the church leadership to be sensitive about that. However, it is not very easy to determine the motivation of why someone is giving. Because there are people in that church who will give even more than the politician.
Yes.
But they are not interested in any favor, or they will not even ask for the forum to speak to the people.
Yes.
Because of what I've just said, growing them into good stewards of the resources that they have. The role of the church is to take care of the poor. We can only take care of the poor when we are able to help the people who have to share what they have with those who do not have. The role of the church includes bringing up the vision of the church, which has also structural development, which requires funding and finances. So, and you cannot leave out a politician funds if they need to be part of that development. But then we need to be more careful to know why exactly they are doing that, or why they are bringing that amount of money. But I also know that the narrative about politicians giving money to the church is also advanced from a political front. So the concern it is more from the political side, which is part of the political confrontations and divisions that people have in trying to outdo each other in their strategies of doing things. So if a politician is clearly supporting the work of the church with the clear intentions, and then they don't only do that during political season or campaigns, that is a very welcome gesture which we need to encourage. However, we as church leaders should not give them special treatment or receive that as something that might amount to corruption. So the first question we ask ourselves is, where is that narrative coming from? Who are the people who are so much concerned that the other politician is giving? And could they also probably challenge them by also giving? So that we have a balance whereby everyone is giving to support the work of the church, and then nobody would be feeling threatened or intimidated by the gift of another person. It would be extremely unfair for the church to treat some people special because of their gift.
Because of what they are bringing in. And of course, when we get closer and closer to the general elections, they come out with all the bags. Away from that, immediate former CJ, David Kenani Maraga urged President, just before he left office, urged President Uhuru Kenyatta to quell the rising political temperatures. Of course, it has been brought about by a number of factors, the by-elections, the BBI. So after that, looking at his words, I do remember during the BBI launch and at the Bomas of Kenya, Bishop Oginde did talk about the executive need to dance the Jerusalem dance, because of course it's open secret now that there has been some issues in the executive between of course the president and his deputy. But we haven't seen the church coming out to try the Jerusalem dance that Bishop Oginde talked about during the BBI launch at the Bomas of Kenya. Why is that?
Yes, good question. The reason is because we even feel like the Jerusalem dance is no longer the way to go. Because following the way the events have gone, things do change. And we are now at a position where we feel that we don't need reggae.
Yeah.
We don't need hustler.
Yes.
We don't need Jerusalem.
Yes.
We just need to be calm and back to where we were before all these dances. We were better people.
Yes.
We were a better nation. We were more united.
But the problem, looking at the last couple of days, we've seen His Excellency talking about how the BBI in the Mount Kenya region, we have seen the former VP, Kalonzo Musyoka, and DP throw stones at each other. But the religious institutions are really quiet. The silence is deafening.
Yes, we are silent, but we are not inactive. We are active.
You're silent but not inactive.
Yes.
How are you not inactive?
we are number one. We are extremely active in helping our members and the Kenyan society to respond in a sober manner. We are talking to them on how to receive all these kind of messages. We do not have, our voice may not be heard so much, but and we are praying for the nation too. That one we will always do, even when we are not being seen like we are active. Let me tell you, there is no time that Kenyans have prayed for the nation like this time, and the church is actively engaged. Praying right from within the church, at home, individually, completely, jointly as a brothers, praying for this nation. So that is a great responsibility that we will always do, and which we are doing. That's why I say we might look like we are silent, but we are not inactive. In addition to the role of prayer, which we believe strongly is key and critical, and it is what has led us to where we are today. We are also helping our people to remain sober, because every time the things that we hear out there from the politicians are enough to make the people so much divided. But coming to the dances, honestly speaking, it is now we are at a point now where we probably need to have a stop of all those dances.
Indeed, and still on the same, the narrative of hustlers and dynasty, actually, a lot of people are talking about we are incubating a problem. What is the position of religious institutions? Because also on that, the religious institutions are still quiet.
Yes, we are quiet, not because we buy into any of this, but we are quiet because First of all, we are in disbelief, and that we can be in that campaign mode all those months before even the elections.
Yes, the political drumbeats are already on.
It is shocking. It's difficult for us to believe that what we are seeing is actually happening. But as we deal with this aspect of the competition that we are seeing, we are also getting ready to prepare the people to go on with their normal lives. That's where our focus is. And you will recall in another forum that we had right here, we talked about the role of the national cohesion,
yes,
and all that.
And integration commission, yes.
That is one of the reasons that makes us begin to watch and ask ourselves. It is true we have our role as religious leaders, and our role is not official. It is not an office, but where are the people of the national cohesion? Why don't they speak? Now, when the retired Chief Justice spoke, that was not the first time that the church we were saying that something is wrong. We had spoken even before he did. We said we don't like the direction things are going. We would like, even when David Ogido was speaking at Bomas, talking about the toning down, that is the voice of the church. That still remains our position, that we need to either tone down or completely abandon these processes, because particularly when it comes to the way we are pursuing the BBI agenda, we are shocked that BBI is meant to be an initiative to build the bridges. But the way the direction things have gone as at now, which probably the outgoing Chief Justice is calling drumbeats, it is undermining the entire purpose and reason for which it was. It is in this document where there's a whole subject and whole chapters on divisive politics.
Yes.
Which the document seeks to prevent or to do away with.
Yes.
But yet, in the promotion of the same document, there's probably more divisive at an early stage than any other, which we really, God forbid, that doesn't continue the way it is, because it will actually be much greater than before.
It could be incubating a serious problem.
A serious problem.
Yes.
It is in the same document that most of all the things that it seeks to safeguard, by virtue of the way it is, the way they are doing it right now, it is actually undermining the entire thing. So the question still now comes back again: are there things that are within the BBI the real causes of the problems that we have? Because if they are, even when we have those nice written points, and we are just at the process of beginning to discuss it, why are we then having more problem on the same issues that they're talking about? Ethnicity is a huge chapter right there.
Yes.
But in the process of selling and promoting the BBI, then we have found the ethnic ethnic tensions and division more than ever.
You're actually funding them.
Yes, we're actually funding them, and yet we are funding them as we promote the document that is supposed to finish them. So when you look at the divisive elections, when you look at the ethnicity, when you look at the inclusiveness, in the process of promoting the document, we are more exclusive.
Yes, and still on ethnicity, you've mentioned something very important. How can the religious institution positively enable Kenyans to transcend ethnicity so that religious institutions become units of political change?
Our greatest law, which unfortunately we have not been able to do to the maximum, is to help the politicians themselves. If the religious leaders would be successful in creating sober politicians, in creating politicians who, in the real sense of the word, are for unity and not just political slogans, if we are able to handle that, then we would have solved all these other problems. Because when there is no election, honestly speaking, we live together as neighbors. Our children go back to the same schools.
Yes.
When they're even now, the current situation that we are in,
yes,
has only come because of envisioning the 2022. And that is why it has become difficult to understand the borderline between 2022 and BBI becomes very thin and so merged up that it is not possible to be able to tell which is which and which one we should be involved in. And that's why we say it is probably time that we take a break. And that's probably why you think the church is silent.
Yes.
Take a break, help our children go back to school after being home for a long time, a critical priority. That's a major priority. Help people deal with the second wave of COVID. It's good news to hear that it's coming down.
Yes.
But the impact on the issues, help people address the economics and the poverty that has come resulting from the effects of the COVID. It is probably time that we abandon these discussions of BBI and the rest of the subjects and begin to focus on more unity. But I want you to know that before these conversations began, no Kenyan was looking at the other one as this tribe or that tribe. And you have never seen Kenyan people.
In fairness, it always comes when we are getting closer and closer to the general elections.
Yes.
And perhaps, how can religious institutions, because they don't do this, how can they scale up dialogue? Leave alone the politicians, leave alone our leaders, and teach on a regular basis on moral ethics, integrity, so that even people make a decisive decision when they get to the ballot.
Yes, that is a critical role of the church, and we hope that that the government and the leaders in this country, including the politicians, would see the value of the civic education, particularly being a responsibility or conducted by the church. That would bring a whole difference, because we are non-partisan. We are the people who have the networks. We know our people. We listen to them every day, and that again explains the reason why we might appear like we are silent at times. Because when you go to the grassroots and you listen to the people and you feel the issues that they are hurting about, you become very irrelevant to involve yourself and spend your time in political stuff and the other things that are going on. So you really want to help the people, particularly the common mwananchi, address the issues and the problems that they are having today on the ground. Now, you've asked a good question. How can we do this better? I think we need to be consistent in our training of the ethical values and speaking into these issues, which we do. We need to be more to get more opportunities, which probably we also don't have, other than the one that we have within our religious institutions. And we need to have more dialogue with the politicians themselves, because I think this country, just like many others, is too political. Everything is politicized, and the politicians seem to to take that to be something that they can take people any direction. And that's why you see when they start saying, calling that one this tribe, that tribe. As long as the politician is saying that, people begin to see themselves as tribal. But in the day-to-day affairs of the Kenyan people, when there are no elections, there is no 2022, there is no for or against BBI, we are united people. We do our business together. When I come to your store, I don't want to know who you are or what tribe you are. I just want to know the product that you are dealing with. When people come to my church, I can't even tell you which tribe they come from. We are Kenyans, and we are peaceful people, and we love one another. When you go to the estates where people live, even in this city, they don't do their social gatherings based on which tribe or which part of the country you come from.
That's true.
Their monthly, their welfare meetings, their benevolence meetings, their birthday parties for their children, and the things they do together there is no tribal ethnic agenda in that. But wait until the politicians start looking for votes.
Yes.
So one of the things that we need to do is we need to help our people, Kenyan people, understand that politics is divisive. And it does not matter what document we put in place. It does not matter how many chapters we put in a BBI document or any other, or in a constitution. Politics is divisive. And it is divisive because the politician believes they must divide the people so that they are able to rule. It's a divide and rule.
Yes.
And that's where the issue is. Even as we talk about divisive politics and ethnicity and all that, what we need to be addressing is the question of dividing people for power. That for a politician to be able to pass through, they will divide these people in this side, so that they find their way for power, so that they find a place to pass through. And that's why I said that as a church, we probably need to do more to help our political class to understand that you can still become a politician by casting your vision, by being a leader who helps the people see the needs that people have and come up with clear plans on how you'll reach that vision and help your people become part of your teamwork as Kenyans. That kind of politics is what we probably need.
Yeah.
Yes.
And indeed, I concur with you that a lot of people have given up on the political process because of how it is carried out, and mostly in third world countries. But do you believe religious institutions are encouraging their members to be to appropriately engage in the political process? Of course, you know very well, we are the same people who put these leaders in power. Do you believe religious institutions are on the forefront to encourage their members to participate in the election process? Looking at even the by-elections, you find like the ones that were done last month, actually in December. Looking at those by-elections, there's something that was a common denominator. The percentage of those people who actually availed themselves to vote was so low because of a number of factors, including intimidation. Others actually don't even understand the whole election process.
Let me start from where you have headed.
Yes.
One of the main reasons is, other than the intimidation and those others for the low turnout, is apathy among the people. And apathy is brought about by what I said earlier, that like I saw in Uganda last week, where I interacted with the leaders, and they have this feeling, well, the graph is drawn mentality.
Yes. We know that we know the outcome.
We know the outcome.
Yes.
We know the outcome. And the fact that people have tried to bring change for a long time and they have not been able to do that, that attitude is what is resorting to where we are, and it's becoming greater and greater. The more you interact with people, I do travel in this country. I have a lot of work going on in Samburu, Turkana, schools and boreholes and things there. A lot of work going on in Marsabit, Garissa, and all over the place. And the feeling is the same, that if I'm only needed to cast my vote during a political season, and then just to put someone in power, then they go their way, and then become just corrupt and take what belongs to me and to them together. I have no business with what they're doing. That is the feeling, and that is the attitude you see reflected in those by-elections, and it's not going to get any better. People have that apathy. People feel like the corruption within their leaders is beyond their ability to bring change. But going back to our lawless religious leaders, we don't give up ourselves. So we continue to help the people understand that failing to participate in those political processes is actually participating by placing people there whom you don't want to be your leaders. And so we help them to see the need of doing that. But it goes back to the key point that we have said before. The church plays the role of civic education on their own. What if this was to be an official role, or in partnership with the existing institutions, where the church, or not the church, just the religious leaders who are the people, that they are able to be given the role and the mandate for civic education. That would make a lot of difference, because they will not go there to promote a certain candidate or to promote another candidate. They will not go there to divide the people. There's no way the religious leaders will divide the same people that they are telling to unite. And we know clearly that politicians believe they must divide the people so that they rule, for power. But the church exists to unite the people. The religious leaders exist to unite the people, because almost all the religious leaders that I can think of, the main message is that there's a supernatural being who loves the people, who is the source of humanity, and who wants the people to live together as human beings in love. So the primary role of the church is to want to connect people with their supreme being, the God who loves them and who wants to bring people to himself and to one another. That is the primary message. But it is the opposite. The politicians bring the opposite of that. When they come in and say, so when the religious leaders have taken time to try and help people understand that message of love, of a God who loves the people, the politicians come and say, but you know, they bring the language of they and us. They did this, they did that, or we need to do this so that they don't do that. So they bring in and they blend people now in terms of ethnicity. You are from Mount Kenya, you are from Western, you are from whichever part. Those languages are political languages. They are not church languages. Those languages are from people who know very well that if they divide the people, they'll have a place to ride on. And I think it's a mark, I see it as a mark of political bankruptcy. If you cannot be able to promote your vision and your agenda without dividing the people into ethnic groups, that's bankruptcy. And probably those kind of politicians also need to get home and sit and rest, because it is very painful when the religious institutions are working to unite the people, and the people are struggling with the food, they are struggling with the school, they are struggling with health, doctors are on strike. People are out there just dividing the same people, promoting their own selfish interest.
Indeed. And picking from what you had touched on, being an ideal politicians perhaps even hide in religious institutions to camouflage, for lack of a better word. Some politicians have mastered that art of camouflage, of exploiting religion to mask their sources of wealth and the sources of wealth and alleged corruption.
Yes. And again, it takes us back to the problem of determining who has what wealth from which side. And this is why I said from the beginning that partnership with the institutions that we have doing their work. For example, we have ESCC that deals with the corruption matters. If we are partnering together, there is something the church can do that the ESCC cannot do. There is something they can do that the church cannot do.
Yes.
But now, if we do not work together to build a moral, upright Kenya of people who are people of integrity, it becomes very difficult for any single institution in this country. Even the executive itself, there is no way it can exist on its own and build the kind of nation that we are talking about. But corruption is a big threat to everything else that we need to do in this country. It is huge. That is why when we start talking about the politician giving money in the church, that money is look like as though they are giving so that they can buy their opportunity to speak, which may not necessarily be the case. But because, and the politician may be giving thinking that way, because we are living in a corrupt culture that I want to silence the people with my gift.
Yes.
But again, we need to address the issues of corruption. And I've been saying that we already have the chapter 6 in the Constitution, the leadership and integrity. And that alone, when it was put there, I thought we'll never again be dealing with leadership and integrity issues. But several years down the line, we still see the same leaders, corrupt guys, the same, even if they have not been convicted,
recycled,
the same recycled, the same people leading, and surprisingly or ironically, they are the same who will talk about corruption.
That's ironic.
I find it very ironic that guys who have many corruption cases, that they are the same ones who stand and point a finger at others. But where we are right now, we are at an alarming point in this country, in the issues of corruption. I think there's too much talk and very little action. That's why we get very excited when we hear somebody has been, the whole process, due process has been taken, somebody has been taken to court, but sometimes we don't hear anything after that. But we are in an alarming situation whereby it is open. The other day I listened to the president's message in the vernacular radios, and I was really, as a leader, I felt very low and very discouraged when I heard the emphasis that came out that these people have billions, they have stolen billions, and it came out with a lot of pain in him. That these people have a lot of billions. They should not tell us that that the BBI process is going to cost these billions, because they already have billions. So now what that left me very discouraged is to ask, so it seems like we have accepted that we know who has what, and we know they have it. But my question remained, what are we doing about it?
Indeed.
What are we doing about it? I know that person X has billions, is stolen, it's not his. We have the process and mechanism of dealing with that. But what are we doing? What are we doing about it? And if we become have the same apathy in the top leadership about how to deal with such problems, and then the people on the ground have the apathy that the leaders they vote are going to be corrupt, so there's no need of wasting their time going to queue there. Then who is going to where are we going to land? Who is
yes. Actually, when we come back, we will be talking about also civic education. I do remember during the distribution of the 2010 Constitution, I was part of that media team that we traversed various counties. Of course, then we didn't have counties, we had provinces then. And I saw the role of the church in educating the masses on the 2010 Constitution, even before we passed it. I remember Jisome, Jiamulie and stuff. You do remember that. So what is the role of the church, and especially now that we are seeing some political temperatures rising, and also we will also be talking about toning down on that political heat. When we come back, we will be talking about that. Of course, I'm joined by the founder of Glory Outreach Ministries, Bishop David Dhagana Munyiri, and we'll be talking more on that. Kindly be part of the conversation. We are live on all our social media platforms. We'll be right back with more. Keep it Channel 1.
Anna got sick, I just couldn't understand it. Why was this loving little girl going through this?
I think your daughter is lactose intolerant.
Acid reflux.
Everything looks okay.
Everything's fine.
Everything is not fine. There's something wrong with our little girl.
Mrs. B, you need to calm down.
I'm not leaving this hospital until I know what's wrong with my daughter.
Unfortunately, the tests confirm that she's very ill. There is currently no cure for Anna's condition.
Doctor, please, this is our little girl. I'm scared, Mom. Me too. We're not giving up.
Like a small boat.
Wataka mambo? Basi tutakupasha.
Muone sura kama mbuzi ambaye amekarangwa kichwa chake na wewe. Nakwambia omba sana nisikuone na nisikupate. Kwa sababu utajuta siku ulozaliwa.
Na si umbea, la hasha.
Afu wewe mwanamke usipende kuingilia mambo yasiokuhusu. Uza mambo ya kuko wewe sio dobi.
Wewe usinyoshe kidole wewe.
Ni yale yanayojiri hapa mtaani.
Fanya hivi. Jifiche. Hapana, sitajificha wewe.
Afadhali nakuomba.
Wacha kuja tumenyana.
Fanya hivi, sikiza bwana. Na kwangu mume wangu.
Get ready for a 3 weeks Africa Football Feast as the new year kicks off with the 6th edition of the African Nations Championship in Cameroon. From the 16th of January to the 7th of February 2021, 16 teams from the continent will be spread across 3 cities as the best players from domestic leagues showcase their talents live on KBC Channel 1. Let's support our own.
Is in charge of lifting that ball inside the box and was going to beat his own goal. Keep taking shot there by Sila Masori Kamara. 2 minutes of stoppage time. The Guineans are trying to put on and to pelt the Namibians. An attempt!
Welcome back. This is Channel 1 News Check, and today we are looking at the state of politics in the country, and more specifically, we are indeed looking at the role of religious institutions, that is the temples, the mosques, the churches, the synagogues, in creating harmony. And especially right now, we have barely a year to the general election, and of course we have the BBI and also the by-elections that have taken place, and also we have some that are lined up to take place. And Bishop David Dagana, of the presiding bishop and the founder of Outreach Glory Ministries, is my guest today. And before we had that break, Bishop, we had talked about when we come back, we're going to look at the civic education. And during the 2010 Constitution, I do remember the church was very vocal in terms of what the document contains. And I remember we had so many meetings with religious leaders actually to chart the way forward when it comes to the 2010 Constitution. That is just before we promulgated it. But now we have a lot on our plate. We have the by-elections, we have the BBI, we have the general elections, all that taking place within a span of a year and a half. civic education, perhaps on what the role of the church or religious institutions in making sure that their congregants do know exactly what is happening in the country and how actually to abstain from things like incitement and other things. The church and the religious institutions do have that mandate, right?
Yes, yes, we do have that mandate, and we do that. We do that to the best of our ability. Civic education is a law that the church really does in and out of the church forums. The challenge is nobody seems to recognize that law. So the church is like it's on its own doing that law of civic education. The example you have given is very good. During that constitution moment, the church had been recognized as an agent of civic education. It was empowered, and people, we went down and did the civic education. Empowerment included even translations of that very document that time, and making it simple for the people. So we had something to alisos to learn with in the civic education. And like now, I think the feeling is that this processes, like the BBI, are more political processes than they probably should be. And that is the cause of all the problems that we are having. Because if they were not political processes, if they were regarded as with the importance that they deserve, like constitutional moments when we're trying to look at areas that we can make better in the constitution, and they're regarded as national matters of national importance, then we'd have had translations of those documents into simple language that the church can learn with. The church would have been empowered with that to take to the people. Right now, you just translate. Even the people themselves do not know what it is, because, again, with a lot of drafts that has come along, a lot of drafts, and it's very difficult to tell which one. I was looking at my file of all the drafts from the first one, including the newspaper drafts and every revision. It's so difficult even to tell which is the BBI report today. So with that, civic education becomes difficult, because the civic education is critical and is very effective when you have one document that is agreed upon. Otherwise, the church has a law of civic education. We're still doing it, but it needs to be more structured. It needs to be more formalized. It needs to be more empowered. It needs to be funded. It needs to be funded so that everyone is not doing it on their own. So that is if we did that, I think we'll do much better. Right now, what we are left with, mainly to control the temperatures that the politicians have raised by their utterances. So we are all the time just
already
cooling.
in a political mood. And actually, that was supposed to be my next question. How do we tone down political temperatures in the country, and what is the role of religious institutions in assisting the country to do that? Because of course you have a huge following when you go when we look at all the religious gatherings that we have in the countries.
First and foremost, the church, and I believe this is happening, we should desist from participating or taking sides in these political positions that people are taking, because all people belong to us, and we are Kenyans. We are people who have been placed at a point of being the voice and the moral conscience of the people. Then if we took sides and appeared to be belonging to a certain side, it becomes very difficult to arbitrate or to help or to mediate. So the church still needs to play that role. We cannot keep off because we are in the same nation, we're the same people, but we can fail to take sides so that we are able to help our people. And we also continue cooling those temperatures, because our people hear statements and they go crazy because they want to learn with what they have heard. But we need to really speak to the people in authority, and the politicians themselves and the top leadership, to, as much as we do and whatever all we do as a church, they bear the greatest responsibility when it comes to uniting the people, when it comes to leaving the people to having the people work. They should stop making political utterances that are just fanning these ethnic fires. And of course we need to also speak to the cohesion. The team, the people in the coalition, they are the most silent, and we don't know why. They should be speaking out. They should be taking our responsibility when these statements are made. Otherwise, if that doesn't happen, then we will have a lot of work to keep just cooling the temperatures and praying for the nation when it's like somebody is lighting the fire here and has all the fuel lighted and another one is putting off the fire.
Yes, actually, hold the thought, because we are also going to be looking at security and, of course, what institutions can do to assist security-wise. We are looking at Kapedo the last couple of days, and, of course, some young people are drawn into groups that they think they are fighting for religion, in quotes, but it's not the case. And how do we mentor young and upcoming leaders? Because when we talk about politics, we have to talk about leaders. But right now, we are crossing over to Nairobi Serena Hotel, where professionals and political leaders from Marsabit, Mandera, Garissa, and Wajir counties are talking about insecurity in the region. Let's listen in.
Share of government position and demanding his replacement by one of their own. The CS, being a national figure and holding a challenging assignment of critical service to the nation, has no time for their petty, ill-guided aggression targeted at advancing primitive political discourse of yesteryears. As leaders seated here before you, and leaders from this region and the neighboring counties, we therefore demand that these leaders should be held accountable for inciting communities against other peace-loving Kenyans, in particular those appealing to their communities to arm themselves, like some leaders have stated in their statements. These leaders should be given ultimatum to remove the local militia for peace to prevail within Marsabit County and the counties neighboring Marsabit County. These tribal chiefs, led by the governor himself, are hereby informed that their actions are more detrimental for their people, as the other communities of all these counties are now more aware of the intentions of direct displacements and will not be cowed into submission whether they use their local instrument of force or propaganda and blackmail against anyone or communities. These said leaders should give chance to the security operators to do their work, instead of propagating and claiming to know more than the job holders themselves. Leaders should desist from going to neighboring counties to incite and cause suspicion and hatred among communities who have been living together peacefully all along. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. What my colleague has just read are statements mostly related to Marsabit issues. The issue between Isiolo and Wajir County, and specifically Isiolo North and Wajir West, has happened the last 3 months. It has been taking place the last 3 months. We have been trying, as you know, leaders from Isiolo have had more than 5 press conferences about that matter. We in Wajir were persuaded by the fact that the government was organizing a meeting between leaders that is going to have a solution, which, as you all know, took place yesterday. We have deliberately decided not to respond to those statements so as to give chance to dialogue. We still believe in dialogue. We are prepared for peace, and we are going to do everything possible within us to engage with these people. But there must be a partner on the other side interested in peace. For the last 1 month, I have been trying to engage my colleagues in the National Assembly and the governor of Isiolo. This morning, before I came here and before I decided to join this press statement, I was trying to look for them.
it is difficult. It seems they want to deal with one region, deal with Garissa now, put the problem of Wajir under the cover, come for this. So they are not interested in peace. We want to tell, because we have no conflict that is centered on settlements and anything else. We have a dry spell in Wajir. Our livestock have come toward Cielo, just like theirs used to do when there's drought on their side. There is absolutely nothing else. We don't want these leaders and government to support them in balkanizing the nation. That this is our region, this is our area, this is our land. Kenya belongs to all of us. We don't want a situation where we balkanize and do, segmentation of the nation. That this part belongs to this community, this part belongs to this community. Until Kenyans cannot cross to each other, cannot cross over to each other. They know very well when they had drought on their side. We accommodated them, we gave them our pasture, we gave them our water. We will still do if they will have drought. We want to request them and plead with the government and those leaders to come to the table and bring their people to the table, so that this nonsense of people killing each other because of pasture to stop. In any case, no government security apparatus can tell our people who are grazing in Cielo that we are foreigners and we will go back to where we come from, unless they want to tell us, because some of them are telling us they are supporting BBI that brings the country together.
Indeed, that is a presser by a cross-section of leaders from the northern region talking about the recent cases of insecurity in the region, and some of them we've been able to pick a few of what they are calling upon, of course, asking the government to be more proactive. And they want leaders who are instigating and who are fanning insecurity to be held accountable. And perhaps Bishop David Munyiri Dagana, Outreach, Glory Outreach Assembly. We had been talking about that. Yes. Incidentally, we're talking about security situation where you find even the youths are being used, and mostly they are used just as we approach elections. And the same thing is what is replicated there, as leaders are castigating other leaders who are fanning and adding to the insecurity problem that we've had in the northern region for quite a while.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what we've been saying. That's what we've been saying, that the political leaders ought to realize that people in this country, they are more important than their political power. They are more important than their agenda, individual agendas. So dividing them along tribal lines so that you can lure them, that is very unfortunate, and they need to stop that. They need to stop that, because, and this is what I asked earlier in this conversation, why don't we have these conflicts when we don't have talk about elections?
Yes.
or something like BBI where people are taking sides? Why don't we have that? Because we Kenyans are peaceful people, and the politicians need to let us live as Kenyans, as one people who pledge their allegiance to God, people who love human life, and they should stop dividing us. We also need to ask the people, the various agencies that are charged with the responsibility of protecting the citizens. There are various arms of government. There are people who do the arrests, there are people who do the investigations, there are people who do the prosecution. All those chains of people, they need to do their job. Because I strongly believe that this country has got very, very effective and very strong security agencies and systems, if only they were to operate free from political interferences. That's why when you listen to leaders like those, they are just pointing this governor, that person, other person.
Yes.
And even myself, I do a lot of work, development work in Turkana, among the Pokot, among the Turkana people. And when I go to listen to the people there, they help one another, they live as one, they are one, until when a politician comes and talks about this position, supporting this position, or supporting the other position. So we need the government and the top leadership first to stop speaking statements that can divide the people, and fund those political ethnic divisions.
Yes.
Secondly, to ensure that the various agencies are doing their work. If a person is going to kill another, there should be a way of knowing who is doing exactly that.
Indeed.
Yes.
Unfortunately, our time is up. Your final word, I can see Tom from Kiambu is talking about we need to add some minutes. This conversation is actually helping. And Andrew Vincent Vincent, he's also watching and saying the show is good. As we wind up, 1 minute, please.
All right, thank you very much for this opportunity. I just want to speak to the Kenyan people and tell them that as religious leaders, we have the heart of this nation. We pray for this nation, we pray for you, we want unity, we want to see people working together. And also we would like you to play your part of not allowing yourself to be divided by the politicians. The youth refuse to be used. The people from different communities refuse to be used. And politicians, just know that people are more important, the power and the position that you would want to take. And let us all live together in unity. And finally, let's either tone down the issues of BBI and the other issues that we are talking about, or we abandon 2022 discussions. It is too early to start focusing on politics, especially divisive politics. And let us also ask ourselves the fundamental questions. Are the things that are in the BBI, the ones that are making us right now go the direction we are going, how will they prevent us from fanning the tensions in the future? Thank you so much, and once again, I welcome you to celebrate 30 years.
30 years.
Yes.
Indeed, we will talk about that. Thank you so much. I have been speaking to Bishop David Munyiri Dagana, who is the founder, Glory Outreach Assembly. There we were putting things into perspective, the state of politics in the country, and more on the role of religious institutions when it comes to creating harmony, and especially now that the country's political temperatures have begun to rise steadily. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Ben Troinjwe. I'm handing the baton to Suleiman Yeri, who will be handling Tamlini. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Enda pale kwa Palune. Wakenya. Kari ndio hii. Oh, sorry, kifungu ndio hii kari. Ni furaha ile niko nayo. Msichali kete. Wacha tupeane mali ya wenyewe.
Ni vizuri tupe watu vitu zao.
Uchukue mali yako. Kuja uchukue mali yako. Hiyo ndio shamra.
Hiyo ndio shamra ya quick bid.
Umeona? Umeamini?
Nimeamini kabisa.
Hii inaitwa nini?
Hii inaitwa kifungu.
Na hii inaitwa nini?
Toyota Probo.
Toyota Pro. Mpatie kifungu hiyo.
Shika ingine.
Ndio
ya kuendesha.
Onesha.
Na wewe unaitwa nani?
Naitwa Steven.
Steven nani?
Kahuho.
Nakwambia. Uliwekelea bid ya ngapi, brother?
1772 peke yake.
We. Na ndio amejishindia Pro Box. Sasa hii Pro Box inakusaidia aje?
Itakuwa inanisaidia kazi yangu ya kuuza matunda.
Unaambia je watu wa kwenye nyumbani ambao watakuona na hii?
Wote wacheze na quick bid. Ukweli.
Ni ukweli.
Kabisa.
Sasa tufanyie vizuri. Ingia upate mizigo yako bana. Ingia utoshee, ukae usikie. Inakutosha sawa? Sisi tulikwambia ni aje? Bidhaa bora kwenye bei ya chini. Bidhaa bora kwenye bei ya chini.
Jiunga na QuickBid ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill, kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bidi yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano TV 16, kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bidi yako pia kwenye www.quickbid.co.ke. Kumbuka, bidi ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio hununua. QuickBid, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
Anna got sick, I just couldn't understand it. Why was this loving little girl going through this?
I think your daughter is lactose intolerant.
Acid reflux.
Everything looks okay.
Everything's fine.
Everything is not fine. There's something wrong with our little girl.
Mrs. B, you need to calm down.
I'm not leaving this hospital until I know what's wrong with my daughter.
Unfortunately, the tests confirm that she's very ill. There is currently no cure for Anna's condition.
Doctor, please, this is our little girl. I'm scared, Mom. Me too. We're not giving up.
Like a small boat.
Next on
ina maana Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ametupa fursa usiku na mchana, ako tayari kutusamea, ingawa sisi hatujajitolea kufanya hiyo tauba ama kurudi kwa Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kwa msamaha ili tupate hiyo msamaha. Na hakuna asiyekuwa na dhambi. Kila mmoja wetu ana dhambi, ima kwa kukosea, ima kwa kusudi, tuna madhambi.
I strongly feel love, and I have no doubt, and I sing it loud.
Wataka mambo? Basi tutakupasha.
Muone sura kama mbuzi ambaye amekarangwa kichwa chake na wewe. Nakwambia omba sana nisikuone na nisikupate. Kwa sababu utajuta siku ulozaliwa.
Na si umbea, la hasha.
Afu wewe mwanamke usipende kuingilia mambo yasiokuhusu. Uza mambo ya kuko wewe sio dobi.
Wewe usinyoshe kidole wewe.
Ni yale yanayojiri hapa mtaani.
Fanya hivi. Nifiche. Hapana, sitajificha wewe. Afadhali nakuomba. Wacha akuje tumenyana. Fanya hivi, sikiza bwana.
Ofanyani. Na pangu mume wangu.
Aishi Malula again. If such trials or strip kicks were taken, though Zambia had more shots on goal, on target, Tanzania was leading in. And it goes in. It hit the goalpost, and luckily for Zambia, it was deviated into the
tunakupa burudani.
Na umbea, yani stories zinazo trend kwenye mitandao ya kijamii.
See baby now we are two in one. We are two in one.
Interview kali za wasanii wapendao.
Mguu pande panda milima. Aoye izungushie hapo ma. Kama una
ndani ya March of Live kupitia KBC Channel 1 na Pwani FM.
Kuanzia mida ya saa 3 mpaka mida ya 5 kamili asubuhi. Ukiwa nami ni Ken 1GB.
Mimi ni Marco. Keep it locked.
Malewa.
Yeah, is a make I wanna for daddy.
Naam, karibu sana, ikiwa ni saa 6 hivi zimekatika baada ya dakika 8 hivi. Karibu katika hii ni Tamrini, ikiwa ipo ndani ya KBC Channel 1, kipindi ambacho kinakujia kila siku kuanzia siku ya Jumatatu hadi Alhamisi kuanzia mwendo wa saa 6 dhuhuri hadi saa 7 mchana, ambapo tunazungumzia masuala mbalimbali ya kitaifa. Leo hii ikiwa ni siku ambapo tumejipanga na vijana hapa studioni ili kuweza kuzungumzia masuala yanayowaathiri vijana humu nchini, ikiwemo ni masuala ya siasa, ukosefu wa ajira, na vile vile tunaona ongezeko la vijana kujihusisha katika masuala ya mihadarati, na vile vijana wakilalamika kwamba hawajahusishwa vilivyo katika masuala ya kisiasa. Je, wapi kwenye pengo? Na je, BBI itakuwa ndiyo suluhisho ya vijana kuweza kupata nafasi jinsi ambavyo inaahidi, ama vijana wenyewe wanahisi vipi? Manake hisia zipo tofauti. Na leo asubuhi hii nitakuwa naye Edwin Kegoli ambaye ni mchanganuzi wa masuala ya siasa na sera. Vile vile nipo naye Douglas Shamala ambaye ni mwenyekiti wa chama cha Kenya Youth Alliance, ambaye pia atakuwa ananisaidia kuweza kunichangulia ama kuchanganua masuala haya asubuhi hii ya leo. Mimi ni Suleiman Yeri na mwenzangu wa ishara ni Simon Karodha. Kumbuka kwamba unaweza kunifuata katika mitandao ya kijamii @Suleiman Yeri. Vile vile unaweza kufuatilia matangazo haya kutumia ukurasa wetu wa YouTube @KBC Channel 1. Moja kwa moja, karibuni sana.